Welcome to Chapter 2 in Basics of Biblical Hebrew. In this chapter, we're going to study together the Hebrew vowel system. Now, something you might have noticed in our last chapter when you learned the alphabet, you didn't learn any symbols that looked like vowels or even represented vowels. And that's because the Hebrew writing system originally had no vowel symbols. It was written purely with a consonantal text. And so if you were to speak Hebrew or to read Hebrew, you'd have to read a text with no vowels in that text, and you would supply the vowels from memory. Okay? Now, when Hebrew began to die out several hundred years after Christ, a group of people called the Masoretes began to invent a system whereby you could add dots and dashes and points below, inside, and above the letters to preserve the vowel sounds that were associated with each consonant. Now, we've got to learn that system if we want to learn to pronounce Hebrew. All right? We are not native speakers of the language, and so without the vowels, we would be crippled. We cannot pronounce Hebrew without vowels. No language really has a system of speaking without vowels, and so we've got to get the vowel system down. Now, in Hebrew, the vowel system was a secondary development, and so we're going to have to learn this secondary system as it applies to the Hebrew consonants, and they work together. So the consonants of chapter 1 are going to work together with the vowels of chapter 2 to actually help you pronounce and say Hebrew words and clauses, sentences, and phrases. If you'll look at the first slide where we list the text of Deuteronomy 6:5, you'll see that there are two different lines of text presented. On the first line, you'll see the text written only with the consonants that you've studied from chapter 1. And by now, you should be able to identify the names and the forms of all of those consonants in that first or upper line. Below that line, you're going to see a second text that's identical to the first text in terms of consonants. Now, this second line has all of the vowel symbols presented in it. So you'll see in red dots, dashes, and squiggles below, inside, and occasionally above Hebrew letters. Those dots and dashes are the Hebrew vowels. This is a whole Hebrew vowel system. And so we're going to learn this system, that is how to read the Hebrew consonants with all these vowels. Now, why did they do this? Simple. The consonantal text of the Hebrew Bible was sacred, and they didn't want to add anything in between the consonants to juggle around or mismanage the consonants. So these vowels, the vowel system was developed in such a way where you didn't have to touch the length or the line of the Hebrew text, but you simply annotated around the text indicating the vowels. Now, if you're an English speaker and that's your native language and that's the only language you know, this is going to be difficult at first because you're used to reading series of consonants and vowels in your words. With Hebrew, it's going to be a long series of consonants with vowels written underneath, inside, to the left, or above the different consonants. And so it's going to take some time to get used to. The symbols aren't difficult, but developing that skill where you can read consonant, vowel, consonant is going to provide you with a bit of a challenge at first. But within time, it will become second nature, and it will really be a smooth process. It works. It's a good system. Now, what we want to do then is we want to begin by looking at two sets of vowels in Hebrew. There are what I'll just call, for simplicity's sake, the regular vowels and the vowel letters. And we want to begin with the regular vowels, Now, the vowels in Hebrew the regular vowels come to us in three categories. There are the long vowels, the short vowels, and then the reduced vowels. Long, short, and reduced. And they come in three different types or classes. There's the A, E, I, O, and U categories. So long, short, reduced, A, E, I, O, and U. Now, there's not a vowel for every category and every class. You'll see how it works, but we're going to begin this way. We're going to begin by covering the regular vowels in Hebrew, and once we've got the regular vowels down, then we'll move to the vowel letters. The regular vowels begin in the categories of long, short, and reduced, and we're going to begin with the long vowels. In Hebrew, there are three long vowels, or what we'll also call changeable long vowels. Okay? Now, the reason we call them changeable will be important later, but this simply means that they can change. Changeable long vowels can change, all right? That means they're not always the same. Sometimes they will reduce to short or reduced vowels, and sometimes they can increase from reduced to short and long. So you'll become comfortable with this system soon. But let's begin by looking at the three long vowels, the changeable long vowels in Hebrew. Their names are comets, sere, and holum. And like we did with the consonants, you're going to want to memorize the names, the symbols, and the sounds for each vowel. The names, the symbols, and the sounds for each vowel. Let's begin with the Hebrew vowel comets. Now I'm going to write this for you using the consonant B, and I'm just going to use a consistent consonant so that you can work with the positioning for each vowel, okay? With this bait, we are going to add the Hebrew vowel comets, which is the long A sound in Hebrew, the A like in father, ah, and it's written like a small uppercase T below the letter. So here's our small uppercase T below the letter. That's the Hebrew vowel comets, okay? This vowel is long, and it always occurs underneath the consonant to which it's associated with. Now, when you're looking at vowels and consonants together, you always begin with your pronunciation, pronouncing the consonant first and then the vowel underneath it second. Consonant first, vowel underneath it second. So with the combination that we have on the screen here, you'll begin by pronouncing the consonant bait with dogish lane, which is ba, followed by the long A class vowel comets, so it's ba, ba. The combination as it appears on the screen is pronounced ba. The T symbol at the bottom of the page is the long A vowel in Hebrew. I'll write it again for you, comets. The next long vowel that we want to learn how to write is the sere, sere, and it's the long E sound in Hebrew, like the E in the English word they. And it consists of two dots side by side, 1, 2. That's the sere. Now, we begin by pronouncing the consonant first and then the vowel. So this is the long E sound, so this is not ba, but be. Begin with the comets, it was ba. Here the pronunciation is be. This is the sere. The next vowel that we're going to learn is the holum, and this is the long O sound, O as in roll, okay? O as in roll. Now this particular consonant is not written below the consonant. It's one of the few vowels that's written above and to the left of the letter. And so we'll begin by writing a single dot above and to the left. Here we have, up here, the holum vowel symbol, and it's pronounced as the O in roll, and so it's bow, bow. Okay? Now you can see then, if I were to write three consonants together under on my page here, okay, I'm going to write the three different vowels, the comets, the sere, and the holum. The first combination is pronounced ba with the comets, be with the sere, and bo with the holum. Ba, be, bo. Now this is the first time you can begin to practice pronouncing consonants and vowels together. Again, number 1 is ba, number 2 is be, and number 3 is bo. Remember that you pronounce the consonant first and the vowel second. Good. Those are the 3 long vowels in the Hebrew vowel system. Now we'll move to the short vowel system, and there are 5 short vowels. 5 short vowels here. Let me just tell you the names of each of the short vowels first. We'll go in the A, E, I, O, and U categories. There's the pathic, the sagol, the hirik, the kametzatuf, and the kibitz. Pathic, sagol, hirik, kametzatuf, and kibitz. Those are the 5 short vowels in the Hebrew language system. Now you want to memorize the name, the sound, and the symbol. So let's begin by practicing these symbols together. Number 1, here we go. Let's get our consonant bait out there with the dogish lane, so it's the hard pronunciation. And then we're going to begin with pathic. Now pathic is the short A, and it's a simple horizontal stroke below the letter. That's the pathic. Now the long A was pronounced ba. The short A is pronounced ba. Ba and ba. Whenever we have the pathic vowel, as we do here, you'll want to pronounce it as the long A as in bat, ah. So ba. Good. The pathic is a simple symbol to write. The next vowel that we want to look at is the short E, and it's a segol or segol. Okay? The segol in Hebrew is the short E sound, and it's written with a series of 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. Okay? 1, 2, 3 dots, and it's the short E, like the E in the English word better or eh. This is pronounced be, be. Okay? We'll now move to the Hirik, where we will pronounce, or where we will look at the short I vowel. The Hirik vowel in Hebrew is easy to write. It's a simple dot, 1 dot under the consonant, and it's pronounced like the I in bitter. This series with the consonant bait, dogish lane A, and the Hirik vowel is pronounced bi, as in bitter, B-I in English, okay? We're pronouncing the consonant first, then the vowel second in every instance, Good. The next vowel that we want to look at is the kamet satuf, the kamet satuf. Now here we go. It also occurs below the letter, and it looks just like the comets. In fact, the comets and the kamet satuf are identical in form, but they occur in 2 distinct environments. Now in Chapter 3, we'll cover which environment to expect the comets and which environment you'll see the kamet satuf. Okay, for now, you just need to know that both the comets and the kamet satuf share an identical symbol. And the fact that they both are comets and then kamet satuf, they share a name. And so you can easily see why they would share a name and a symbol. Okay? Now in the next chapter, we'll cover the differences. So for now, learn the symbol and its possible and its translation value. This is the short O, like the O in bottle, ah, and we would pronounce this combination consonant first, vowel second as ba, ba. The last short vowel that we're going to cover for the regular vowels is called the kibbutz, and it's a U-class vowel. It sounds like the U in ruler, and it consists of 3 diagonal lines grouped together. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Let me enlarge those for you. 1, 2, 3. So that diagonal series of 3 is the kibbutz, and it sounds like the U in ruler. So this combination would be pronounced boo, boo. All right? Now, if you look at the slide for the short vowels, you'll see that there are 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, and U, the pathic, the segol, the Hirik, the kamet satuf, and the kibbutz. And let's work, as you're looking at this slide of the short vowels, let's pronounce these vowels together, okay? The pathic is ba, segol, be, Hirik, bi, kamet satuf, ba, and with kibbutz, boo. So what we're doing is we're pronouncing on the screen, on your overhead, the consonant and vowel combination for the pathic, segol, Hirik, kamet satuf, and kibbutz, so that you can begin to get the sound down. Let's do it again, but this time I'm not going to say the names. I'm just going to work through the series of the 5 consonants with their vowels. Ba, be, bi, ba, and boo. Those are the short vowels in Hebrew. The next set of vowels that we're going to look at are the reduced or hatef vowels. The reduced or hatef vowels. These are the shortest vowels in the regular vowel system. There's the long, there's the short, and you could think of these as the super short vowels. Long, short, super short. But instead of super short, we're going to call them reduced or hatef vowels. The reason we call them the hatef vowels is because the name of each has the word hatef in it. There's hatef pathic, hatef segol, and hatef comets. Again, hatef pathic, hatef segol, and hatef comets. Now, these vowels are super short, almost indistinct in their pronunciation. Almost indistinct in their pronunciation. And the good news is that the symbol, the super short. But instead of super short, we're going to call them reduced or hatef vowels. The reason we call them the hatef vowels is because the name of each has the word hatef in it. There's hatef pathic, hatef segol, and hatef comets. Again, hatef pathic, hatef segol, and hatef comets. Now, these vowels are super short, almost indistinct in their pronunciation. Almost indistinct in their pronunciation. And the good news is that the symbol, The main symbol for each is a short vowel that you've already learned, the pathic, the sagol, or the comets, plus 2 vertical dots to the right of that symbol. All right? So let's look at the Hatef pathic, for example. And we're going to begin by writing our consonant bait with our friend the Dagesh Lene right in the middle there, making the hard sound. And then we're going to write the symbol Hatef pathic. All right? We're going to begin by writing the 2 vertical dots that go in each Hatef vowel. Hatef and then pathic. That combination, the 2 dots plus the pathic, represents the Hatef pathic vowel. And it's a short vowel. It's pronounced very quickly, like the A in the English word amuse. It's simply the sound, amuse, or America. It's quick, almost indistinct in terms of its vowel class. That's the Hatef pathic. The second reduced vowel is the Hatef sagol. So let's practice this one. It's also the same 2 dots, followed by the sagol, which are the 3 dots, 1, 2, and 3. That's the Hatef sagol. The combination of the 2 vertical dots followed by the sagol represents the Hatef sagol, and it's pronounced like the E in metallic. Metallic. It's almost as if you don't pronounce the E, you just run the M into the T. Metallic. Metallic. We pronounce the similar. We have lots of words in English where we drop off this first vowel, and so it's not something uncommon that we do. We do it with words like police in English. The English word police has an O between the P and the L. However, when we pronounce it, or when most of us pronounce it, we don't say police. We just go P to L-I-C-E, police. That's in essence what a reduced vowel in Hebrew is. It's a quick, hurried vowel that almost becomes an erased vowel in the spoken form of the language. So now we're going to begin our third vowel in this series, and it's the Hatef comets. Now the Hatef comets is a short O-class vowel, and like all of the Hatef vowels, we're going to begin with the 2 vertical dots. Okay, that's what identifies the Hatef vowel, the 2 vertical dots, and then the comets symbol, the comet symbol. This is the short O sound, like the O in commit or the O in police. Commit, police. It's as if the vowel has dropped out, and you're simply pronouncing the first consonant with a little bit of air, followed by the rest of the word. All right? So let me just review these 3 reduced vowels for you by beginning with the 3 baits again. We'll write our 3 baits with Dagesh Lene. This is good practice for you as you're continuing to work on the alphabet. And then let's write them, and then we'll pronounce them together. There is the Hatef pathic, 2 vowels, 2 dots plus the pathic. There's the Hatef sagol, the 2 dots plus the sagol. And then there's the Hatef comets, your 2 dots plus your comets. Pronounced ba, and ba. There is almost no difference in the pronunciation of these 3 vowels. They all basically sound like the consonant with a little bit of air following them. Now when you're pronouncing Hebrew, and you're pronouncing at a pretty good pace, just post-beginner, you will not be able to distinguish these vowel symbols one from another in terms of their sound. You will be able to distinguish them in their form, and they are important in their form, and so you'll want to be clear in their writing and in their pronunciation at the beginning. So ba, be, and ba. It's a pretty good approximation, but it really, at the end of the day, are going to sound ba, and ba. Almost no sound distinction with those 3. Okay? So there we've covered the long, the short, and the reduced vowels in Hebrew. Those are the regular set of vowels in the Hebrew language. There are 3 long vowels, 5 short vowels, and 3 reduced vowels. You must memorize all 11 forms of those vowels, their sounds, and their names. And it's very important that you learn how to spell the names of the vowels correctly. For example, pathic is P-A-T-H-A-C-H, or sagol, S-E-G-H-O-L. You want to be very clear and very distinct in how you accomplish all this, so you want to do it all with excellence. The better you learn the material in chapters 1 and 2, and the more precision and accuracy you give to it, the easier Hebrew will be later. If you cheat or cut corners here, it's just going to snowball, and things will become harder and harder and harder as you go in the language. So take the time to learn this material well as you're beginning. Okay? Now, you can see in the summary chart that appears on your screen now, all 11 vowels categorized by long, short, and reduced in the categories of A, E, I, O, and U. This is simply a summary chart, and it will allow you to check, do you know the names, the symbols, and the basic sounds for each vowel. Those are the regular vowels of the Hebrew language system. Now, in addition to the regular vowels, Hebrew also developed, I don't want to say a secondary set of vowels. It's actually a primary set of vowels, meaning the vowel letters in Hebrew actually came before the regular vowels. The Hebrew guys were smart when they were writing, 3,000, 3,500 years ago, whenever they began writing Hebrew. They recognized that a system of writing with pure consonants would be difficult in cases where there were two different possibilities for pronunciation. Am I supposed to pronounce this letter with an A vowel, an I vowel, a U vowel? I don't know. And so when there were certain instances where ambiguity was possible, Hebrew developed a system whereby they selected three consonants, He, Yod, and Waw, to function as what are called vowel letters, which means they're really consonants, but they mark vowels in certain situations. Now, later on, this developed into a full system of vowel letters where we mark it a vowel and a consonant together, so it's always clear when you have a vowel letter. However, just so you know that this system is very old. Now, the Masoretic system of vowel pointing, developed maybe, 500 AD. The Masoretic, or the system of Hebrew vowel letters is much, much older. Let's think, if we're going to be really conservative about it, maybe 1,000 BC. So perhaps 1,500 to 1,000 years before vowel letters, or before regular vowels. So it's old. Now, we need to learn this system, and the good news is about this. You know already, if you've learned the alphabet and the vowels before this, the regular vowels before this, you know all but one of the names and forms of these vowel letters. All but one of the names and forms of these vowel letters, okay? Now, let's begin by just covering what it looks like when we have vowel letters written with He. Vowel letters written with He are used only at the end of a word, so you'll never see a vowel letter with He in the middle or at the beginning of a word. And so they're only at the end, and they occur in a couple of different categories, the A, the I, the A, the E, and the O types, okay? For the A type, we have what is called Kametz He. For the E type, we have Tsere He and Segol He. And for the O type, we have Holam He. Kametz He, Tsere He, Segol He, and Holam He. So what you'll now see on your screen are the four Hebrew vowel letters written with He. The Kametz He, the Tsere He, Segol He, and Holam He. Now they are written as a combination of the vowel and the consonant. So if I say Kametz He, you're writing a Kametz and a He. If I say Tsere He, you're writing a Tsere and a He. So let's look how that works. And what I'll do is I'll begin by writing my bait consonant with the Dagesh Lene. And then I'm going to write for you the Kametz He. You begin by writing the Kametz underneath the vowel, and then following the consonant under which the Kametz is written, you write the He. So this combination right here, the Kametz and the He together, function as a single vowel unit. It's not a Kametz plus an H sound. It's not AH. It's actually a single vowel sound, ah, like the A in father. So this is pronounced ba. You begin with number one, the consonant, and it's followed by number two, the vowel. And in this case, the vowel is a vowel letter, Kametz He. Good. Let's write now the other vowel letters in this category. I'm going to write my baits here. We're going to do the two E-class vowels now. Okay? The first E-class vowel letter with He is Tsere He, so 2 dots for Tsere, and then He, pronounced Bay. The second one is Segol He, 3 dots for Segol, followed by He. Okay? The first one is pronounced like the regular Tsere. The second one is pronounced like the regular Segol. So it's not changing any vowel sounds. There are no new vowel sounds to learn with the vowel letters. These vowel letters are just a more distinctive way of marking the vowels in context. Okay? So the first form here with Seri He is pronounced Be. The second form here with a Segol He is pronounced Be. Be and Be. And those are the two E-class vowel letters with He. Finally, we're going to look at the O-class vowel letter with He, and this is called Holam He. Why is it called Holam He? Because it's made with a combination of the vowel Holam followed by He. It's called Holam He. Why is it called Holam He? Simple. There's the Holam, there's the He. That is called Holam He. And so the names reflect the combinations. There's the Holam vowel, there's the He vowel letter. This sounds like the Holam He sounds like the O in roll, so this is pronounced consonant first, then the entire vowel letter together, Bo. Bo. Very good. Let's move to our next category of vowel letter. There are two vowel letters written with wow. Two vowel letters written with wow. And these are perhaps, no, not perhaps, these are for sure the most common vowel letters in the Hebrew Bible. There's something about this wow letter with these dots in it that the Hebrew writers loved. And so Holam, wow, and Shuruk are the two vowel letters written with wow. So let's look on our screen together here. You will see that the vowel letters written with Holam, there are only two. There's the O class and the U class. There is the Holam wow, that's the first one, and then there's the U class Shuruk. Let me show you how to write these on my screen here. We'll begin by writing our consonant bait with the Dagesh Lene. Good. Then I'm going to write for you the what's called the Holam wow. So I'm going to begin with my wow consonant and a dot over the wow. That is the Holam wow. Why is it called Holam wow? Because that's the Holam and that's the wow. So it's called Holam wow. And this is a long O sound like the O in roll, and so we're going to pronounce this combination Bo. We pronounce the consonant first and the vowel second. The consonant first and the vowel second. The U class vowel written with wow is a little bit different from the rest. This is the only vowel letter that has its own distinctive name. It is not a combination of the vowel symbol and the consonant. It has its own distinct name, and so you'll want to learn that this particular vowel letter is called Shuruk, S-H-U-R-E-Q. This is the Shuruk. And it's written as the wow to the left of the consonant and a dot halfway down and to the left of the wow. It looks almost like you're placing a Dagesh Lene in the wow consonant, but you're not. It's not a Dagesh Lene. This particular consonant, this particular vowel right here is called the Shuruk, and it is not named as a combination of its parts. It has its own distinct name. So this is the Shuruk vowel. It's a long U, like the U sound in ruler, and so this combination will be pronounced boo, boo. With the Holam wow, it's bo. With the Shuruk, it's boo. Excellent. Finally, we're going to look at three vowel letters with yod. Three vowel letters written with yod, and they are Tsere yod, Segol yod, and Hirik yod. Tsere yod, Segol yod, and Hirik yod. The Tsere yod is written just as you would expect by now, with a combination of the Tsere under the consonant followed by the yod. Okay? This has a single pronunciation, the long E as in they, be, the long E as in be. This is not a combination of Tsere and the consonant yod. This unit together, Tsere yod, functions as a single vowel. It's a single vowel, and it's called the Tsere yod. Why the Tsere yod? Because it begins with a Tsere, and then it has yod. So Tsere yod. The name for this vowel letter is a combination of its parts. The next vowel we want to look at is also E class, and it's the Segol yod. The Segol yod. We'll begin by writing our consonant bait, Dagesh Lene. and then the Segol Yod, which is a combination of the Segol vowel followed by Yod. This entire structure, the Segol and the Yod, represents a single vowel, short E, like the E in better, ba. Finally, the last vowel letter written with Yod is the most common one written with Yod, and it's called the Hirik Yod. This is another popular vowel letter, so we'll begin by writing our bait with Dagesh Lene. And as you would expect, the Hirik Yod is written as a combination of Hirik, underneath the consonant, followed by Yod, Hirik Yod. This entire system here, the Hirik and the Yod, functions as a single vowel. You pronounce it after the consonant to which it is associated, and so we're going to pronounce bait with Dagesh Lene, followed by Hirik Yod, as B, B. Now here's a couple of things to note. The vowel letters written with He occur only at the end of a word. I've mentioned that. But frequently, those vowel letters will drop off at the end of the word. And so sometimes they're there, and sometimes they disappear. Later, you'll learn why, how, and when. Okay? The vowel letters written, however, with the vowel letters written with wow and the vowel letters written with yod are much stronger. They do not drop off as much. And for that reason, they are sometimes called unchangeable long vowels because they like to resist change. Now, sometimes they will change. It's not really the same kind of changes the regular vowels go through. But one thing you can just know in terms of what are these vowels like is that the regular vowels like to increase, decrease, and kind of move along the slide of their vowel class. So sometimes you get a long A, sometimes a short A, sometimes a reduced A. But with Hebrew, the vowel letters, you're looking at long vowels that don't like to change. They're more stable. So if you can kind of get that in your mind as one of the fundamental features of these languages, they resist change more than the regular vowels. And you can think of the fact that the consonants that get glued to the vowels strengthen the system. And so you've got this system of really glued together consonant vowels, and so they're going to resist change better. And those are the vowel letters, okay? They're called unchangeable long vowels, both the ones with yod and wow for that reason, okay? So here you can now see the summary chart on your screen. Vowel letters written with hey, vowel letters written with wow, and vowel letters written with yod in the categories A, E, I, O, and U. Now, like the regular vowels, you'll want to memorize the form, the name, and the pronunciation sound for each vowel. Now, the nice thing is the names for each should already be known to you from the regular vowels and the consonants. The only exception to this is in the second category here, the vowel letters written with wow, where you have shurik in the U class. That's the only vowel letter that has a distinctive name, not a combination of the vowel and the consonant that go together. Okay? Great. Well, that's fundamentally the system of vowels in Hebrew. You've got regular vowels and vowel letters. You always pronounce the consonant first and the vowel second. But before we move on, there are just a couple other features of the language I want to share with you. Number one, sometimes vowel letters were written in what we call a defective style. That is, you would expect a vowel letter to be written as a consonant and a vowel together, glued together. However, sometimes they're not always written that way. You'll get a vowel letter written what they call defectively, or a shorter form of it. We're going to call it in this grammar the defective form, not because it's broken, simply that's the traditional way of talking about it, so we're just going to maintain it so that when you read other grammars or when you read reference grammars or commentaries, you can be up to speed on the language. And so defective does not mean broken. Defective means a shorter spelling. Look at your screen with me for a moment at the chart that covers defective writing, where you've got the vowel letter written in the full sense and then the defective writing of that vowel. In the first category, you'll see a holem wow following the bait. And the example is the word shofar in Hebrew, shofar or ram's horn. Notice with the full spelling or with the full writing, it appears as the full holem wow vowel letter. But in the defective category to the right, it's simply written as a holem. So a defectively written holem wow vowel letter is written as a holem. The pronunciation is the same. The full writing is pronounced shofar. The defective writing is pronounced shofar. There's no change in pronunciation, just a slight change in spelling technique. In the second category, the shurik is defectively written as kibbutz. And so if you look at the example madua below, you'll see that the shuric is fully spelled, or the full writing has the shuric. In the second option, you'll see it's written with kibbutz, and it's the shorter spelling, or the defective writing. It's pronounced the same, madua, but you simply have two options for writing it. And finally, you can see that the hirik yod in something like the Hebrew word Dawid, the Hebrew name for David, can be written defectively, not as hirik yod, but as simply hirik, And so both forms are pronounced Dawid, but in the full writing, you get the hirik yod. In the defective writing, you get simply the hirik. Now, there are studies about this and reasons for it, most of which you don't need to be aware of, but I can tell you this in just terms of general ways in which the Hebrew Bible works. The further along you get in your Hebrew Bible, let's say you begin with Genesis, then read Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, you get through the Pentateuch, and then you get into the former prophets and the latter prophets, and then you get into the writings. The further along you get into the Hebrew Bible, the more vowel letters are used. Now, part of that is the fact that vowel letters increased in their usage over time. And so as the composition of the Hebrew Bible progressed over 1,000 years or so, you have more and more usage of vowel letters. And so in a book like, Samuel, you'll get fewer vowel letters because it was written earlier. But in a book like Chronicles, you'll get more vowel letters because it was written later, and they liked vowel letters more later. In fact, if you look on your screen again at the previous chart where we had the defective and full writing systems there, if you look at the last example of the defective and full writing for the hirik yod, look at the Hebrew word Dawid. That's the Hebrew word for David, King David, the famous guy in the Old Testament who killed Goliath. Now, if you look, the defective spelling has only the hirik, and that's actually the form that is most common in Samuel. The form that's most common in Samuel is the form that's defectively spelled Dawid with the hirik, not the hirik yod. But in Chronicles, it's the full writing that's preferred in that account, and so you get a slightly different spelling based upon when the book was written. And so even within the Hebrew Bible, certain names will be spelled differently because of the chronological position of that book in its composition. And so it's one of the fun ways to see how the Hebrew language progressed and how you can see things change. It's not monolithic. Everything hasn't been bleached out. So it's something you need to be aware of. Now, at first, it may feel a little bit clunky, like you don't know what's going on. Sometimes you see it spelled one way, sometimes you see it spelled another way. And it's true, they are slightly different, and when you look at it on a page, the vowel letter forms are much more distinctive and easier to pronounce. And the defective forms look a little bit different, and so they can be sometimes hard to see, is that the same word? The more you progress in the language, the more this will become common, and you won't have to worry about it. So if it's difficult at first, don't worry about it. Soon it will become second nature to you. Okay? Just a couple more things. There's another symbol, I don't want to call it a vowel symbol, but it occurs in this vowel chapter. And we need to learn this symbol called shawah. Shawah. Now, this is a very important symbol in Hebrew, and it's very easy to write. Let me just show you it first. Let's begin with our bait consonant on the screen here. Big bait with a doggish lane in the middle. And the shawah is simply the two vertical dots written one on top of the other. That's the Hebrew symbol shawah. Okay? Now, you will recall that this is the symbol that you wrote with your hatef vowels, the hatef pathic, the hatef sagol, and the hatef kametz. However, in this case, it occurs just by itself, the shawah. Okay, there are two types of shawah in biblical Hebrew, 1 and 2. There's the silent shawah and the vocal shawah. Okay, the symbol is the same, but the value is slightly different. For now, all you need to do is memorize this symbol. These two dots that are vertically oriented by themselves, it's called a shawah, and there are two types, silent and vocal. In the next chapter, I'll teach you how to distinguish between a silent shawah and a vocal shawah in context. All right? Good. Finally, we want to look at one more dot. Now, if you look at your screen, you'll see a bait with what you might think is a doggish lane in the middle of it. And in fact, that's certainly one possibility. I'm going to write it now on my tablet here, the big bait with a big red dot in the middle. Okay? Like the shawah, of which there's one symbol and two different types, vocal and silent, we also have the same reality with the doggish. With the doggish, you have one symbol, a single dot, but two different possibilities. Okay? There is first the Dagesh lene, okay? And that dot appears in begad kafat consonants and hardens the sound in the consonant in which it appears. The second kind of dot that you can see in a Hebrew letter is the Dagesh forte. Okay? The Dagesh forte. The Dagesh forte does not harden the sound of a consonant, it doubles the sound of a consonant. It doubles the sound of a consonant. So a lene will harden a consonant sound, and a forte will double the sound of a consonant. Now again, it won't be until chapter 3 that I teach you how to distinguish between the Dagesh lene and the Dagesh forte. For now, you simply need to know, like the schwa, there's a silent schwa and a vocal schwa. So too with this little dot, there's a Dagesh lene and a Dagesh forte, and I want you to know the value. The lene hardens a sound, the forte doubles a sound, meaning this. If I were to take something like the Hebrew consonant mem, and I were to write in it a Dagesh forte, the value of this particular letter would not be simply M in a transliterated world where we pronounce it ma, but it'd actually be two M's. Two M's. So Hebrew had a very economical system of writing a double letter. Hebrew did not do this. Hebrew did not do mem, mim. They avoided the double letter in a word. Rather, what they did is they did mim, Dagesh forte. Okay? This Dagesh forte represents the second mim. It doubles the consonant in which it appears. Okay? It doubles the consonant in which it appears. So look at the screen one more time where you have your consonant bait and the big red dot in the middle of it. Okay? This is the dot that can be either a Dagesh forte or a Dagesh lene. Now you already know that a Dagesh lene will appear only in a begad kafat consonant. A Dagesh forte, however, can appear in any consonant except for the gutturals. So if you see a Dagesh in a consonant that's not begad kafat, it's forte. If you see a Dagesh in a begad kafat letter, it can be either forte or lene, and you'll have to distinguish between the two. And that's where I'll help you out in the next chapter, make that distinction. Okay? Here's our last slide for chapter 2. You're almost done. Again, I just want to point out to you that there are 4 gutturals and 1 semi-guttural in the Hebrew language. There is aleph, he, chet, and ayin that are the primary gutturals. And then you've got the semi-guttural resh. One of the things you need to know about the guttural consonants is that they will never, ever, 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 ever take a Dagesh lene or a Dagesh forte. Okay? The gutturals have force fields around them, and they resist dots in the middle. So aleph, he, chet, ayin, and resh will not take forte or lene. So this is one of the helpful things. One of the things I want to do as you progress through the language is I want to teach you not just what the rules are, but why the rules work in a particular way and how they work. For this reason, Hebrew is a system of language that's very intricate in its morphology. That is, the way in which the words are formed and appear. Now, for some people, the variety of forms a word can take can be paralyzing, but it's only paralyzing if you don't know the few rules that govern all of the different changes that you can see in the language. One of the most important rules to learn is that gutturals act like family, and one of the family characteristics of the gutturals is that they reject all Dagesh fortes and all Dagesh lenes. You'll never see a dot in them. So this is a pretty important thing. Even though it's the last slide to cover in this category, you want to begin to learn different things about your letters, all right? Different things about your letters, and this is an important factor, all right? So in this chapter, just to review at the end, the most important thing to learn is that there are 2 sets of vowels you need to learn, the regular vowels and the vowel letters. Before you leave this chapter and move on to chapter 3, you'll need to learn the names of the Hebrew vowels, the forms of the Hebrew vowels, and the sounds of the Hebrew vowels. Then you also want to learn what the schwa looks like and the 2 options, what the Dagesh looks like and the 2 options, and the one characteristic of the guttural in this category I want you to learn about is that they will never take a Dagesh forte or a Dagesh lene. That's really it in this chapter, but master the material in every detail before you move to chapter 3, and that way when you get to chapter 3, you'll have all your consonants and all your vowels able to work together in the next chapter, which is syllabification.